Mother Fluffers. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Alice.
And this is the Signal 2 podcast.
Welcome
to 2024.
First crime-related episode for the year.
Crime-related.
Well, it's crime.
Crime adjacent.
If this is crime adjacent, I don't want to know what crime is.
Ooh, that's got me excited. How are you going?
Yeah, good. I just want to have a little super quick aside. I know we said we weren't going to talk about stuff.
We said we weren't going to do intros. So welcome to Signal 2 for 2024. If you haven't listened to our shit chat, that was out last Friday. Go check it out.
And I just want to say, I was sort of going through our socials and few changes, and I noticed some particularly unnecessarily mean comments on one of our platforms. Now, if you don't like us, different strokes for different folks. Totally fine. There's a billion true crime podcasts that develop, they put their content out in a billion different ways, and you don't have to listen to us if you don't like us. But these ones were unnecessarily mean, saying they don't care about our lives, do our job. We don't get paid for this. It's not a job. Telling they didn't like your facial hair and they don't care about it.
Bitches.
Just everything. And they got angry because I read off a script. I'm like, do you think in a week I can memorize this and research it? I'm not that clever. But basically the whole thing was they hated our intros. And I just want to make it very clear that we are not doing it for those awful people.
Yeah.
We're doing it to streamline the process for our excellent, wonderful, nice listeners that have been nothing but supportive and kind to us. We're obviously a podcast that supports mental health and all that, and online bullying I'm not down for, or anything that's related to that, adjacent to that. I said, if you don't like us, different strokes for different folks. Totally get it. Not a problem.
That's right.
Just there's no need to be mean, and we're doing this not for them because I don't want to give them that power of thinking that they change things.
God, no.
We're doing it for the lovely people. So I just wanted to raise that now, just in case they listen and are like, I'm so successful at changing podcasts.
Absolutely not. And that's the thing. We have received feedback, really great feedback, but some of it was they want what happened to the shit chats. They want to hear. People wanted to hear more. One of those back. So we're like, well, how do we do that? And then just talking to friends and family and get other feedback was like, cut down on the intro. So we're like, well, fucking great. Two birds, one stone. Let's do it. So I know we spent a couple of minutes doing that, but it's because of those you awesome people that we're not immune. We're not arrogant to feedback or anything like that. We're definitely keen for it. But just don't be a dick.
Be nice
I feel like
about
that's
it.
a
constructive criticism.
Just life. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, nah, screw those people. We are what we are. We are who we are. We don't try. We don't get paid. we don't get
Not
anything.
a single cent.
We do it because we love it. We do it because we enjoy it. And we are so glad that so many of you do too. If it ain't your jam, if you don't want to listen to me, my questions or whatever, that's totally fine. If you just want to listen to Alice tell a thing, there are other podcasts for that.
Too bad.
This is we are what we are, and we love you for it, and we're super excited for 2024. But yes, in saying that, you are going all right though. We're not gonna. We will always do a check-in. We're always gonna do check-ins, but you're doing all right.
Yeah. Plodding along.
Plodding along. Like I said, we've every Wednesday we're going to have a true crime episode. Every Friday we're going to have our shit chat. So we released last Friday our shit chat. Part of those shit chats are the clues. At the end of last year, we introduced our if you can guess where whoop whoop mother fluffers came from, although it was originally whoop whoop motherfucker.
Yeah.
Which is that's probably how you're going to find it. You're not going to find mother fluffer.
Yeah, I know.
We adapted
that. Was us.
So yes, at the end of last year, we said when we get the merch out, which is on the way, everybody. So, if you can guess where it came from, where we got the idea from, you'd win all the merch. So at the end of last year, we said it came from a song. We received a whole bunch of people messaging us and some really great suggestions, possible solutions. None correct.
Yeah, ultimately, ba-bow.
But and we said at the end, we said at the beginning of this year, we're going to release probably a clue a week, and they're going to be released on the shit chat. So this year's first clue went out on Friday, and then we repeat them in the true crime. So we're going to be repeating, last Friday's clue, and then there'll be a new clue every Friday. So this coming Friday there'll be a new clue. So this week's clue. Well, from last shit chat is that it's from a song, which we knew, but it's not going to be in the official lyrics, and you can only find it through the video clip, the
On
music
YouTube,
video
yeah.
on YouTube. So I suspect that this will take a very long time to solve.
Because I also feel like the YouTube video it comes from is obscure and
It's
not
super
many
obscure.
people. Obviously, it's a song.
But that's a
So,
clue
like,
in itself.
No, we said it's a song.
Yeah, I know.
But like
that
many
even
people
it's
might not know
obscure.
the.
Yeah,
But like, yeah.
but yeah.
If
So
you
that-
like,
that's our
honestly,
clue.
if you get it, like, you can have a keeler. If
You
you
can-
get it up to this week.
Jesus, no, that's not a that's
No, we're
not a
not giving that
reward.
away. Yeah, it's not a reward.
But yeah, so it's from a song. It's the Whoop Whoop Motherfucker isn't from the official lyrics, and you can only really find it on the music video on YouTube. My whiskey, I'm actually not drinking during the week, so I'm breaking my cardinal rule, but I had to, obviously, as we're recording. My whiskey of the week is a Sagamore 8-year-old rye.
It's so yummy, yummy.
And we got this on our adventure to New York when we were in New York for Christmas and New Year's, which was amazing. And this was like the bottle that everybody, a couple of my mates were like, if you see it, get it. Get as many as you can because you just can't get it in Australia, and it's a banging whiskey. And especially like for $50 US over there, holy shit, it's so good. So yeah, I'm going to do the cork pop. I don't think it's going to be a good one, so don't get your hopes up. Anyway.
Middle of the spectrum.
It's very good. So if you like your bourbons, you like your ryes, please keep an eye out for Sagamore. If you see a Sagamore 8-year-old, absolutely get amongst it.
Yeah.
All right.
Unlikely you'll see it in this country.
Whiskey list, bring it in.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, whiskey list. So if you're looking for a really great bourbon or rye, they've got like a bunch of different ones. Check out Sagamore, and they sometimes can get an 8-year-old allocation, but they go like that.
Yeah,
anyway.
fair.
I'm super excited. What have we got in store for us this evening, today?
Well, I've placed my glasses on, so you know we're getting serious.
Oh, yeah, I also know you're getting blind, so.
Yeah, true. So our crime takes place on the 8th of September 2013. And it was stated by the magistrate to be a truly heinous, chilling and grotesque example of murder.
Jeez.
Yes. So our victim in this case is Morgan Huxley. Now, we're going to talk a bit about Morgan because he just seems like a really lovely guy. And at the time of the crime, he was 31 years old and a local business owner of Huxley Marine. So he'd studied marine engineering and his dream was to open up this marine business. So basically they made what it was like boardwalks and pathways through like ocean places that are like impacted, like not impacted by ocean, but where ocean is a consideration.
Yeah,
like
okay.
water is consideration. I'm not very good at explaining it.
Yeah,
But-
you know it, but yeah.
But he loved it, and this was sort of the dream business he'd always wanted to do.
Was he keen on marine life? Like, was
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
So he was always on the water.
Well, like that's exactly my next point. He loved the water, and he loved it ever since his mum bought him his first tinny.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
so cute. So
Yeah.
he was obviously like brought up on the coast, I imagine. Or
Yeah,
near?
by water.
By water.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
So he was a popular guy who was well loved by friends and family, and he was said to be a positive and fun influence on everyone he met.
Cute.
He also loved animals. So he'd adopted a lion and an elephant in Africa, and he was about to go on a long time trip with his girlfriend Tiffany to take part in a volunteer animal conservation project, like research project in Cape Town. Yeah,
how
so like
cute's that?
good guy.
Great guy. We
Yeah.
love animal lovers. They're
We
good,
do.
good folk. When you said he adopted a lion, I was like, like in Sydney?
In his house.
In his house.
And the elephant.
And the elephant. It's like Stampy from Simpsons. I want my elephant.
So he honestly just seemed like a really well-natured and well-loved larrikin.
Yeah, right.
And he did, it cracks me up. It's because he was such a larrikin. If he thought people were a little bit too serious, he would moon them.
Oh my
Like
god.
he'd drop his dacks and moon them.
Oh my god. Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But he was just like, I think what struck me in the end was just like a regular guy.
Yeah.
Like you or me living his best life in the most normal way possible, which I think is like one of those things that's so confronting about these kind of stories.
Yeah. Well, that's like what I was saying on a similar thing. The episode at the end of last year that I did, James Cleghorn. It's
Yeah.
just like just such a nice, down to earth, just a beautiful soul kind of thing. And Morgan Huxley, maybe not like a beautiful soul, but just like a really
a
like
real
soul of the earth.
Aussie larrikin.
Aussie larrikin.
Yeah,
Who just
exactly.
mooning people.
I know, right?
Taking themselves
I
too
loved it.
seriously. Yeah.
So he lived in an apartment in Neutral Bay,
Yeah.
which is a very wealthy suburb of Sydney. It's part of the Northern beaches? Suburbs?
No, it's absolutely not.
Suburbs?
Yeah, it's the lower North
confuse them.
Shore.
Okay, so it's a part of the northern suburbs.
Northern
Yeah,
suburbs of Sydney.
Which is
Bit
kind
of
of
a
like
bougie
its,
area.
yeah, and it's kind of like its own little community.
Yes.
Sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's 1 a.m. on the 8th of September 2013. And Morgan's returning home from an engagement party in Lane Cove.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
great night,
Lovely.
absolutely good time.
Yeah.
And he's returned to Neutral Bay with the bride, like the to-be bride and groom, who's like some of his best mates.
Yeah,
So
wow.
they've returned in a cab from Lane Cove to their homes in the area.
Which is like, I'm going to say maybe like a 10, 15-minute drive. It's really not. They're
super
both on the
close.
lower North Shore. Yeah.
Super close. Now, he'd had a great night
Yeah.
and he's like, do you want to kick on just for one extra drink?
Of course.
And they're like, no, man, we're out. Like, we've had too much. We've had a good time. We're going to go home, but you do you.
Let me guess, he goes out on his own.
He sure does. So they dropped off his apartment and he's more than happy, obviously, to kick on to his
Yeah.
favourite local, the Oaks Hotel. Yeah.
I knew this was the Oaks. Yeah.
And it's only a few hundred metres from his apartment.
Oh, cool.
So super duper close.
Easy, convenient.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know the Oaks and aren't from Sydney, it's kind of a staple for people on the beaches and suburbs. Fuck. People in the northern suburbs, and everyone knows it. Like, I've even been there for a couple of drinks.
I don't think I've ever been there, but I've
Yeah.
like driven past it. And
Yeah.
your lack of geography skills is just astounding at this point.
I like to be consistent.
But yeah, it is. It's one of those like, it's an establishment, like you said.
Yeah, and it sits on Military Road,
Yeah.
which is basically a main arterial road from like deep in the northern suburbs into the city.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very big main road. It's your only way in and out of that sort of area from the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Correct. Absolute nightmare with traffic, but
Oh, shit, fine.
super well known. Like, as you
Yeah.
said, no, it's artery road.
Yeah. Now, Morgan's got no shoes on at this point
What?
because he'd left them at the engagement party because,
Oh my
like,
God.
Straya
That's
had a
hilarious.
good night taking his shoes off and just left them there. Now, before he gets to the pub, he stops in at a convenience store and tries to withdraw some cash from the ATM, but he's
Yeah.
a little tipsy and he's struggling a little bit.
Right.
And he has an interaction here with a young man. Now, the conversation is nothing more than this guy asking Morgan if he was using the ATM, like perhaps because he seemed very intoxicated, maybe sort of, swaying a little bit. But it was
Yeah.
nothing more and nothing less than that conversation. The two of them never met, totally unknown to each other, just that brief interaction
Yep.
in the convenience store. Now, Morgan heads to the Oaks and stays for around half an hour.
Okay.
And he just had a beer and watched the TV at the pub.
Yep.
And he spoke to some staff at the pub who knew him well because he was quite a regular. And when you have those kind of places you go to all the time, especially when you're so close, you get to
Yes.
know your bar staff, they get to know you, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
At this point in time, while Morgan's innocently enjoying his beer, what he didn't know was that man that he bumped into at the ATM in the convenience store was watching him from across the street.
Oh. What so Morgan was inside
He's
the
in the
Oaks.
pub. He's in the pub at the front section, so you
Yeah,
can
so you can see through.
in, and he's waiting across the road, just watching him.
Like a predator.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Now, Morgan leaves the pub about 1:28 a.m. because he's informed bar's closing, you got to go, mate. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, for sure. Great night with mates. Last little beer. Had
Yeah.
a great time.
Yeah.
So he begins walking to his nearby apartment, unaware that this man is now following him. Now, at times, this man would almost jog to keep up with Morgan, but never getting close enough to alert Morgan to his presence, but following him nonetheless. And also, Morgan was quite intoxicated, so maybe you're not as sort of like aware of your surroundings in that
course not.
state, nor should you have to be on Military Road
No.
leaving the Oaks at that time.
That's right. Especially when you're walking bare feet.
Yeah.
That's just wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So Morgan arrives home around like the 1:30-ish kind of mark. And so he gets into his apartment and his bedroom's up a couple of stairs.
Yeah.
So he walks up the stairs to his bedroom and just collapses on his bed, still wearing the same clothes that he'd worn out. We've all done it.
We've all been there.
I'm pretty sure I fell asleep once with my high heels still on.
yeah.
Yeah, like we've all been
We've
there.
all been there. That's like a rite of passage. And
Yeah. Now at 1:30 a.m., his roommate hears a knock at the front door, but thinks nothing of it because she knows he's been out at an engagement party. It's probably one of his friends. They often like to kick on whatever. not a
returning
big
his
deal.
shoes.
Yeah. But around this time, that man that had been following him enters his apartment,
Ooh.
which Morgan had accidentally left unlocked.
Once again, we've been there too.
Yeah, we've all been. Yeah, I've left the front door open.
Yes.
Now it's here he walks up the stairs and to Morgan's bedroom and sees him passed out. And this is where he starts to enact a plan that he had fantasized about for a very long time.
What a creep.
The man then pulls out a knife and just begins to stab and stab the unsuspecting Morgan time and time and time again. And this was a frenzied and aggressive attack. One stab wound was with such force that the tip of the knife broke off in his skull. Yeah.
Jeez.
And his carotid artery was also severed.
Carotid artery, remind me?
The one in the neck.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one that sprays.
Oh, Jesus.
He stabbed him a total of 28 times.
Wow.
Mainly in the shoulders, neck and back. But such force was used to stab him that he almost decapitated him. So once he'd finished, he left the apartment of the brutalised body of Morgan. And strangely, perhaps or not so strangely, he takes Morgan's phone with him.
Okay.
Morgan, though, at this point, is still alive.
Oh, my God.
And in a final desperate attempt to get help, he manages to get to his bedroom door before he collapses and dies.
Yeah.
Now, the roommates are woken about this time at 2:30 a.m. by noises coming from his bedroom. She couldn't ignore this time around. So she goes in to check on him, and it's there she discovers his brutalised body at the door. She immediately calls 000,
Yeah.
and they arrive about 3 a.m.
Okay.
Now, ambulance officers attend like en masse. Like there is like multiple ambulances that attend this scene.
Yeah.
And every attempt was made to save his life because they thought it might be possible.
So
they
he was
tried-
still alive at this point. He was still fighting.
Yeah. And they
Wow.
tried for 23 minutes, but he ended up dying in hospital. So he
Okay.
put up a fight.
He put up a fight.
Yeah.
So the Ambos got there at 3 a.m. He left. He got home at about 1:30.
Yes, yeah.
So this man from the ATM, do we know what time? Did the housemate say what time she heard that knock? Like,
It was about 1:30. So it was pretty much as Morgan would have arrived home. Like he would have followed him pretty close by.
so Morgan fought for an hour and a half, are we thinking?
We sort of find out
that's
a little bit later that perhaps the attack was quite prolonged in a few other ways,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
which we'll talk about.
And the housemate didn't hear. Like, I'm just thinking for that such a frenzied, like, brutal attack, it would make noise, but I don't know, maybe
well, don't forget,
not.
she's kind of downstairs. So
Oh,
she's
is she
down
on
a few
another
stairs.
level?
Yeah, so
Okay.
she may have kind of heard something, but she was at 1:30 in the morning. She probably fell back into a deep sleep.
Thinking like, oh, somebody's come over.
Yeah, they're
Maybe
having
he's
a
brought,
few
maybe he's
drinks.
brought Tiffany.
Yeah.
Like maybe, yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand.
Now, the next morning, the manager of the Sydney Cooking School in Neutral Bay,
Yes.
this becomes relevant,
Yep.
not so far from the Oaks Hotel and Morgan's apartment, comes to work, not expecting to see the rear alley of his business swarming with police and an active crime scene. And he's like, my God, guys, what's happened? Like, this is crazy. What's happened? And they just tell him there's been a murder. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, why are you outside why is that? Because like everything was blocked off.
So the Sydney Cooking School.
Yes. So the Sydney
Right.
Cooking School becomes very relevant in this case.
Did you say director? What was the title?
He was the manager.
Manager, sorry.
So police now jump into action. Witnesses are spoken to, canvases are undertaken, and they're of course first looking at people who knew Morgan, because most of the times this is committed by someone you know, especially such an aggressive and frenzied attack.
It seems personal.
It does 100% seem personal,
Yeah.
but they come up with nothing.
Right.
Now, CCTV is also being obtained. Now, obviously, it's Military Road, so there's shitloads of CCTV. It's all businesses.
Yes.
A lot, and especially like pubs and stuff around there.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have great CCTV out the front.
And it's quite a bougie area as well.
It
So I know I keep
is.
saying bougie. Like it's quite a affluent area,
Yeah.
not effluent, as Kim would say. It's quite an affluent area. So you've
Yeah.
got shops. So your shops themselves will have cameras. Yeah, like you said, there's going to be cameras everywhere around there.
Exactly. So they want to basically see if he met anyone or even what direction he's kind of walked in. Like,
Yeah.
was he going to meet someone? Did
Yep.
he do something like that?
Yeah.
So
Who
they're
did he
just
run
trying to see.
into?
Yeah, they're just trying to see if
Yeah.
there was any interaction with anybody and somebody could give some information.
Yeah.
Now, they saw Morgan did indeed walk in the direction of his home, and he's walking at sort of a normal pace. And he doesn't look, he's not like, staggering or anything. He doesn't look super intoxicated or anything like that. But then you see a young male walking behind him on this footage. And like I said, he almost looks like he jogs at one point to kind of keep a even distance between them.
Right.
Now, police had no idea who this male was, obviously, but one massive clue they got was that he was wearing chef's pants, and that's what they could see in the CCTV.
And he used a knife as a weapon.
Yeah, so they assumed likely it's a chef that works in a kitchen in the area, because there are also quite a lot of restaurants. That time would be closing for a lot of restaurants in that area. It's very likely that could be the case.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just the Oak CCTV that captures him. So there's quite a few other places, and in all these CCTV, this man is following behind him.
What about the ATM? Surely there's cameras. There would be cameras around there, right?
Yeah, but like at that point in time, they didn't know he went to the convenience store.
Oh, of course. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, they didn't think, they're not like, there's nothing to say that this guy's involved, but he's certainly someone we need to speak to.
Person of interest, right?
Absolutely. Now, on the 24th of September, the manager of the cooking school and his barista, they see some guys in suits like walking up and down the street. And they assume that they're detectives because they knew that murder had occurred.
Yeah.
And obviously what they're doing is going into restaurants and cafes and being like, hey, do you recognize this person?
Yeah, cool.
So they go out and they're like, hey, guys, like, what's happening? What's happening? And they're like, oh, there was that murder. And they're like, yeah, we heard about it. We think he might be
a chef.
Yeah. And they show their photo to them, and the barista at the cooking school then just goes, yeah, like, he works here.
Oh, jeez.
His name's Daniel Kelsall.
Yeah.
And they're like, bingo, bango. Like, this is our first real lead.
Yeah.
So who is this guy? Who is Daniel Kelsall?
I know the name.
Yeah.
That's it.
So Kelsall was adopted by Lynn and Mark and raised in New Zealand, where he did train as a chef. Now, the family eventually moved to Balmoral, and he was kind of a little bit of a loner. And he would, like, apart from this footage, he would have no reason to come under police attention, never been spoken to, never had any kind of police record whatsoever. He was just simply like, came to the Sydney cooking school as a guy looking for work.
Yep.
So he's 22 at the time. He'd applied for a cleaning position, and the owner was like, okay, that's perfect. Like, yes, you can come and be a cleaner and a kitchen hand. You've also got knife skills because you're trained as a chef. So that's perfect for us. Like, that works really, really well.
Yeah.
So the owner describes him pretty accurately. He says he's a geeky looking, thick glasses, skinny and nerding looking guy, but he did always stare you in the eye. This guy looks like the ultimate serial killer. He looks like the kind of kid that would have got bullied in school and think it was okay to kill everyone at the school. Like, he has that real, like, you look at him and you're like, you are evil, like, in the most calculated kind of way.
Okay. So when he's that idea of looking you in the eye, I equate it to, and I said the word predator earlier, it's like he's looking at prey. And you will find out that's kind of how he was. I want to show you a photo. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm keen. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, it's hard. It's because you don't want to, like, I don't know, you don't want to judge on appearances, but knowing what the fuck just happened,
Yeah.
It's a very vacant, it's almost like a vacant stare, but when you, I don't know, just looking at that, because it showed like there's a number of faces, like mugshots, images. It's like he's studying you. That's not the right word.
I know it's the right word.
It is studying you. Like, it's like he's looking at you in the eye and trying to, I don't know, analyze you is the word I'm looking for. Analyze.
And I think and
like
he knows he can manipulate.
Jeez.
That's the thing about him. He knows he can manipulate.
And he's obviously got this massive chip on his shoulder, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, I think he's just a psychopath.
No, but did he get bullied at high school or?
No, I said he seemed like that.
Oh, he
kind of
seemed
kid.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So the manager at the Sydney cooking school informs detectives that on the 8th of September, so the night the murder happened, the cooking school was actually hosting an intimate 21st birthday party for 16 girls.
Cute.
So the party went until about 11:30 p.m. The girls obviously had a great night.
Had a great night.
Yep. So Daniel and the manager actually cleaned up for around about 30 minutes-ish and they left.
Midnight.
Yeah. So the manager made a bit of a joke about Kelsall and how he should be paying, like, Kelsall should be paying the manager for the night because you got to hang out with 16 beautiful women.
Yeah.
And Kelsall laughed and was like, oh no, I'm not into that kind of stuff, which was true.
Okay.
Kelsall was gay.
Okay.
So police ask if they can call him. They're like, can we have Kelsall's phone number and get him to come down, or if they could have an address? Now, the manager's like, I can't believe he would be considered to be a suspect. Like, he's never shown any signs of aggressiveness or grumpiness or anything. He did say his favourite shows were CSI and he liked reading crime novels. Okay, William McDonald.
Yeah, but like, I'm also like, I watch far worse, and we do a true crime podcast. By that logic, we're in line.
But I think, like, back in these days, true crime wasn't kind of as, like, big as it is now. It was a little bit odd to be reading.
I don't know. I was reading this shit 10 years ago.
You shouldn't have had a favourite serial killer at 8 years old.
No, no. But the point I'm trying to make is I don't think that alone.
No, correct. It just did give me William McDonald vibes.
Oh, did
How
it?
he always had the crime
No,
magazines.
he always had the true. Yeah, but that was a bit. I feel like that's a bit different. Like CSI was the biggest TV show in the world 15 years ago.
CSI Sunday, best night.
Okay. But yeah, so that's all I'm trying to say is I don't think it's that unusual.
I'm saying in the context of knowing what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah,
in hindsight, yes.
Yeah. So the manager's like, yeah, no, here's his address. Like, not a problem. Happy to give it to you. So they make their way over there. And Kelsall's home and he's like, yeah, man, for sure. I'll have a chat with you. Not a problem at all. So he attends the police station and gives his version of events. This ERISP, I'm going to see if I can. ERISP is an electronically recorded interview of a suspected person.
Oh.
So it's the video recording of an interview that they take.
You see that all the time in TV, CSI, movies, all
exactly.
that. Right, that's called an ERISP.
And I'm going to do my best to see if I can somehow upload some of this. If not, I'll give you the minutes in this crime documentary to go and look at. It is the most chilling ERISP interview you'll ever see.
I don't know. There's one in the US where the guy killed his neighbor in an apartment. I forget his name. And he just stays perfectly still for like 4 hours. Doesn't move.
Oh, see,
that's the creepiest. That's always one of the most like well-known interview ones. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. He has like long curly hair and he just like sits motionless for hours and hours. And then as they're talking to him, that's the bar. Why? What does this guy do?
This one's creepy. It's creepy because he is so obviously sitting there and just manipulating them with cold calluses. And something happens at the interview that they find out later, which just shows that arrogance and callousness. Like he just I'm not usually shaken by a serial killer. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. Like this is super interesting. I find this fascinating. If I'd sat across the room from him, I would have had shivers the whole time.
No way.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell us now or later?
We're going to do the ERISP now, the first ERISP.
Good.
Yeah. So it happens on the 24th of September.
Okay.
So it's
a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, exactly. And he has, like I said, he has almost this like really subtle smirk on his face the whole time. Now he told them, I left work. I waited across the road just passing time, which is so murdery. Yeah. Because, you know, they always go for those nighttime walks. Yeah. And it's important to note that the cooking school is only about a minute walk from the Oaks. Super close.
I didn't know that. Okay,
super duper close. Yeah. So he does say he entered a convenience store that Morgan attended, and he's like, "Yeah, I did see a guy that was super intoxicated at the ATM, 100%. I had a quick conversation and just asked if he was all right and if he was getting money because I needed to get money, and it was like done and dusted. It was a quick conversation.
Yeah.
So he then left. Kelsall left, and he's like, "Oh, I bumped into him again after like later on, half an hour or so down the track." And they're like, the detectives are like, what the fuck have you been doing for 30 minutes?
He's like, just standing out on the road.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
just in my own little world. No, but what did he say?
Well, the whole time he's referring to Morgan as no shoes, which in this like weird way. And honestly, like, there's this time, I don't know if I've mentioned it here, but where he's like, oh, no, I hadn't seen Morgan. Morgan, is that right? Yeah, Morgan. I hadn't seen him before. And just the way he was like, Morgan, I was like, you knew. Piece of shit.
You knew what his name was.
Yeah. But in case you do want to watch it before I managed to get it up, it's on Crimes That Shook Australia on Binge.
Okay.
Season 2, episode 10. Season 3, episode 10.
Okay.
Now, one thing that was also bullshit is the detectives are like, okay, well, look outside the Oaks. There's one point where you start to jog for a very short period of time. What's that about? And he's like, oh, yeah, no. My mum always said if I get a bit cold, I should go for a jog to warm up. You were jogging for like 10 seconds, mate, and it's September. In Australia. It's not that cold.
It's not that cold.
It's not that cold.
Get a bit
It's
chilly.
chilly, but like you don't need to run for 10 seconds.
Not 10 seconds, bud.
Yeah. And it's also raised with him that this was not the most direct route home for him to go to his house because he was also local.
Oh, okay.
And when this was raised, and they're like, why don't you do that? And he's like, I don't know. That's just all he said. He's like, I don't know why I didn't take the most logical route home. Whatever.
But it's on film that he's following Morgan's route, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so the cops' suspicions have got to be like
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Spidey senses are tingling.
And then he also starts to use the excuse that he wasn't good at remembering fine details. You could ask anybody. And when he gets tired, he also doesn't pay attention to many things. And he's like, I was tired that night.
So why don't you just go straight home?
Yeah.
Like, what do you...
Some of the examples he used was like...
Why are you hanging out standing on the road randomly?
Yeah, there was like one thing he's like, oh, I don't know distances. So I don't know like if it's a meter or 3 meters, or I couldn't tell you the height of somebody or the weight of somebody. I'm like, fucking me either. Doesn't mean I don't know fine details. I can't tell you the height of or weight of my friends.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
No idea.
exactly. No clue. And
No.
that's totally understandable. But what has that got to do with anything? Why was he waiting on the side of the road for half an hour, 20 minutes?
Well,
One of the things I did want to mention, I did want to ask about is Morgan was obviously pissed to an extent.
yeah.
However, he'd gone into the Oaks and he was there for half an hour. He'd had a beer. If he was really like absolutely slaughtered, off chops, they're not going to serve him.
No, because we have very strict.
We do have strict
laws.
RSA, and especially a place like the Oaks. Now,
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps correct me if I'm wrong, but that is renowned for like it's as we said, it's a well-known establishment. So they've got to be pretty on top of it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Even for a local like that. So I don't know. It's just this whole idea that he's like, oh well, he was just pissed and no shoes and all of this.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't seem right that he was as drunk as what he's being, potentially portrayed. Am I right?
Yeah, and look, he might have been, but like
He might have
it's
been
not,
drunk.
Like, it's like whatever. He didn't deserve this, and we'll talk
100%.
about those allegations. He also denied to give police any DNA or fingerprints, stating he didn't feel comfortable with it, which may have been because detectives said they'd located DNA and fingerprints at the crime scene.
Okie dokie.
Now, so obviously police are doing more than just listening to the words. They're watching behaviour and taking note of things like clothing and physical appearance.
Okay.
One thing they noticed is that he came in wearing a shoulder bag. Now, it's like one of those like bigger, it's not like a shoulder bag like a girl's handbag, like my R.M. Williams one. It was sort of like one of those.
Everybody knows your R.M. Williams.
Yeah, it's not like a clutch over the shoulder bag.
Kidding.
It's like those ones you used to sometimes have like to put uni books in that would come across the front of your body and was quite big, like could fit a laptop, could fit books. It was very large.
Okay, so basically it's sat at your chest?
Yeah.
I'm not quite familiar with this, to be honest.
It was almost like it was a small backpack shaped bag that you wear diagonally across your body as opposed to on your back.
I don't think
So
I've
it's
ever
big.
seen it. Okay.
You would know it if you said, I'll post a photo of it.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
post a
No.
photo.
All good. But yeah, and why? What did he bring into the station? Like, what was
Well,
the
he
purpose?
bought that. And the whole time he sat
Why?
at the interview, he's got the bag on. Not put down next to him. He's got the bag on him with the actual bag facing detectives.
It's like a courier bag. It kind of reminds me of like a cyclist might wear something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but why? What's...
Oh, we will. Fine. I will not tell you right now because it's going to give away a few things, but we will discuss why he did that later.
Do this all the time.
I know. Well, that's because we're going to talk about the forensic evidence later on.
Okay. But yeah, you've said that they found, what did you
His
say? DNA and
fingerprints at the crime
at the scene.
Yeah. But he is wearing that shoulder bag very specifically like he's wearing it to taunt police.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because is he hiding an injury? Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. Keep going.
Yeah. Now, so they're like, okay, it's weird that he's like wearing it the whole time. That's weird. Like it looks uncomfortable and very impractical, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Take it off.
And he confirmed they're like, okay, what's with this bag? Like, did you have it the night of the night that you saw Morgan? And he's like, yeah, I had it that night. And like I said, police weren't wrong about this bag. It was going to become very important later on. But police, they're not here. They're not here to shut off suspect list. They're like, we're keeping a fucking close eye on this guy, and he's our number one. We're not shutting it off though.
Yeah.
So they start looking into ex-girlfriends as well. Morgan had been dating a few women at the same time,
Oh,
playing
shock
the
me.
field a little bit.
Shock
so a
me.
few of them were understandably angry.
Yeah, of course.
He'd also had a confrontation with the man he rented the building off for his business. And he'd also like mooned him a couple of times in front of his clients. Yeah. Unprofessional, but hilarious.
Fucking hilarious. That's amazing. Right.
So he's also looked into.
Yeah.
But ultimately all roads are leading to Kelsall.
Yeah. And especially like that's a weird, what did you call it? A whisper or something like that? SB? What's the...
Erisp.
Erisp, that's it. Like
Wispy.
so many bloody red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's the 26th of September.
Okay.
And Kelsall calls detectives and says, all right, I wasn't telling you the exact truth.
I hate him.
Yeah. So they then head to meet him at a shopping centre car park in Neutral Bay. Okay, Deep Throat. Like, what are you doing?
Why? What's going on? So the cops did that?
No, because he called the cops.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not coming into the police station, but I'll meet you in this car park.
Oh, so it was his... what?
Yeah, like it's so Deep Throat, right?
Yeah. And if you don't know what we're talking about, it's not a sex thing. Deep Throat, look it up.
A very famous informant in America.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But he met them in car parks, basically.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Now, he states, I did indeed go to Morgan's flat. I did actually go, but I went there for consensual sex.
Okay. Did Morgan know about that?
And he said Morgan fell asleep during this encounter at some stage, this consensual encounter at some stage. And so I left the apartment. And as he left, he apparently saw a young blonde woman go into Morgan's flat. Now, I need to emphasize here that there were rumors that, oh my God, sorry, Akila just made his way into the room and almost knocked every camera and every light
He
over.
scared himself. He knocked down the calendar that's on the wall there. So he, oh, jeez, ow. So yeah, he knocked that on and he scared himself.
Okay, fair.
So he's run to me.
Yeah. So the blonde female was upset to see Kelsall leave the apartment. And like probably the implication is, oh, why? Like, what's happened?
Jaded lover.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, oh, like, do you reckon maybe the blonde was like angry and stabbed him?
Do you think? Oh my God, what a theory, Kelsall. Let's explore.
Yeah. So like he's still not giving DNA and fingerprints. And they're like, we're just going to get a warrant, so fuck you.
And is he still wearing the stupid fucking bag?
No, well, see, he might have been wearing it when he was being all deep throat, but like they don't mention it.
Okay, that's what I was asking, yeah.
So police are like, okay, we got your DNA, we got your fingerprints. We're gonna need you to come to the police station, not of your own free will this time.
No, we're bringing you in.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's arrogant and cocky.
Very much so.
He thinks he's smarter than what he actually is.
Yes.
That's such a consistent theme.
Yeah.
In so many of these cases. So the cops bring him in.
Yeah. And here he just battens down the hatches and says nothing. He wouldn't even confirm that he'd had the conversations with detectives earlier in the shopping centre.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, they probably wouldn't have cautioned him for that because they're just having a meeting. And so what you normally do is under caution in the ARISP. The caution, by the way, is you have the right to remain silent.
Oh, okay.
So they probably would have cautioned him in the ARISP and said, hey, remember this conversation we had where you said this and this and this, trying to get him to confirm it on tape?
Because otherwise it's inadmissible?
Yeah, otherwise,
okay. His word against theirs.
Exactly.
Right.
And so because he was like, nah, that whole conversation probably wouldn't stand up in a court of law, or at least it wasn't enough for them, like detectives, to be solid in it. So he was released. But detectives are like watching you, mate.
Yeah, now they know.
Yeah. So warrants are now being issued for everywhere they might find evidence, specifically his home address and the cooking school.
Okay, yep.
So at the cooking school, they basically confiscate all the knives, which kind of sucks for the manager because that's his workplace, that's his income, and now they can't do it. Now, one thing they do notice is that one particular knife was missing. And police are like, we got to find that knife. And like the manager's like, it should be there. We're very particular about our knives and where they go. And
I imagine they're very expensive.
Very sharp.
Very sharp. Needed to be accounted for. And I can't imagine like when the police confiscated it for testing that it's a quick process.
No,
either.
well,
So it's like,
once they take it, they will expedite everything. It does get done pretty quickly.
Oh, okay. That's good then.
So they're so intent on finding this. At the cooking school, they search the roof, the drain pipes. They get dogs to come in and try and sniff it out.
All the best doggos.
Yeah, all the best good boys and girls. But despite their effort, the knife is never recovered.
It was in the bag. It's in the bag.
I think he chucked it somewhere. It's not in the bag.
No. Okay.
It's never recovered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So then attend his home and they start confiscating items of clothing, but most importantly, they confiscate the bag.
Okay. Just on the knife, you said the tip was chipped, whatever, broke off. They obviously were able to recover that, weren't they? Were they able to then use that, depending on how much, were they able to tell what kind of knife it would have been based on that or no?
I never saw it mentioned, but I'm not. It's definitely not like a kitchen knife. It's definitely like a sharper knife. So like one you would have in your butcher's block at home or something like that.
Or a cooking school.
Yeah, exactly. Or a cooking,
Okay, understood. Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Yep.
So the bag's sent off to forensics, and here they located some interesting stains. And these aren't small stains. They're about 10 centimetres in length. So it's not like it's a little drop of something. And this is all over the front of the bag. And shock fucking horror, that blood belongs to Morgan Huxley. So the whole time he's sitting in that ARISP room, he's got a bag that he knew was covered in Morgan Huxley's bag, just facing detectives.
Huxley's blood.
Almost like mocking the detectives. And so the whole time you're watching this ARISP, you're like, that's got Morgan's blood all over it. insane.
So did he clean it to make it look like, or was it dark?
He
Like,
tried to clean it in what
Yeah.
forensic experts said was an incredibly amateurish attempt, which I was like,
Yeah, get it.
idiot.
But he obviously thought that once again, he thought he was smarter than what he was.
Yeah. And just like the audacity of having that in the interview.
Audacity.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So next, forensics matched Kelsall's fingerprint to one that was found on Morgan's bedroom door.
Okay.
Yeah, so inside.
Yeah, he was there.
And then the final important piece of information and piece of evidence was that Kelsall's DNA was actually located on the penis of Morgan.
Okay.
Yes. So Kelsall is obviously, he did state that this was consensual sex.
Consensual sex,
Yep.
yeah.
Which the prosecution said was fanciful because every single person in Morgan's life had said he was straight. It was not like he was, afraid to come out or anything like that. He was 100% straight. He was not gay.
He had a laundry list of ex-lovers by the
Yeah.
sound of it as
Yeah.
well. Like it sounds like he was your typical ladies' man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the next morning, Kelsall comes into work and the manager is ballsy enough to be like, did you murder him? And he denies everything. And she's like, it's just a coinky dink. Like, I was chatting with him on the street. We both walked to our sort of similar destinations together. Like, it's just a coinky dink. And the manager's like, okay, cool. I can't believe he asked him, by the way. Like, ballsy.
Get him.
And then chillingly, he said to the manager, I definitely didn't do it. And if I did do it, there's no way they would catch me.
What?
What?
What? That just doesn't enter into the vocabulary of anybody that's innocent. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. It's just, the nerve, the hide, the absolute sheer arrogance and ego
Oh, tell me about it.
of this pissant.
And it's quite clear that he's now just, this is a game.
He's playing a game. And
It's
he's
a game.
taunting. And it's, what an absolute little, cool.
So another, although all these things, don't 100% prove that Kelsall's the murderer, he's there at the time of death. So, it's, But another question is also being raised surrounding the lack of Kelsall's fingerprints on the front door. So how did he get in the front door?
Because it was unlocked.
But
but they don't know that.
But also, he would have had to turn the handle.
Oh, right.
It wasn't open. He'd have to turn the handle.
He's probably stupid enough to use his, I don't know, the inside of his sleeve or something to do it there, but then not to do it on the bedroom door or something.
Well, that's what they suggested. But there was also there's the opportunity for it to be said that Morgan had actively let him in the house, so he didn't have to open.
Which
the front
supports what Kelsall was saying, like the consensual sex,
all that kind of stuff.
Right, okay, but it doesn't matter. He can still have been invited in and then murdered him.
So this was also the case with the front door to the apartment building itself.
Yeah, how did you get in there?
Yeah, well, it's always unlocked, so it's kind of like one of those older apartment units that it's the front door, the front door to the apartment should lock, but it doesn't, or it's often left unlocked. Okay. Yeah,
I hear.
Now, on the 8th of October, with all of this evidence, he's arrested again.
Good. That's exactly a month later.
Yeah, so he declines to be interviewed again after speaking with a lawyer, but police were like, "We got enough, mate. We don't need to speak to you, whatever."
Yeah.
So now, because he's charged with murder, they can get even more DNA and fingerprints and all kinds of forensic procedures. Now, given the importance of this DNA, obviously they're watching it being obtained. And Kelsall then turns to them and goes, "Oh, pardon the pun, but you could cut the air with a knife." Yeah. Yeah.
Pissant.
So even though Kelsall's been arrested, charged, detectives are still like, we're going to gain as much evidence as we can. We're still on the ball. We're getting it done. So they then subpoena medical records of Kelsall, including psychiatrists. Now, he told both his doctor and his psych about intrusive thoughts he had about following a stranger home one night and stabbing him to death. Now, forensic psychologists now are also getting involved to see if Daniel's criminally insane or not. And she said he would use words that implied empathy, like concern or worry, but he would state these words with a completely blank expression. So almost like he'd looked up how you're supposed to act, or he'd been taught how you're supposed to act, and he'd use those words, but there was nothing behind them.
He's mimicking human emotion
Exactly.
because he has no connection to it.
Which is what they teach psychopaths. They teach
psychopaths.
them how to.
He's a psychopath.
Yeah, they teach them how to mimic a human emotion so they can live in society.
Yeah, conform.
Yeah. And she said he had a real coldness about him. And he was unlike any other murderer she'd come in contact with, and one which, for the first time in her career, made her fear for her own life.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, she said he was also a very clearly intelligent man who was
really?
very aware of what he was doing, and he appeared to have studied and prepared for their interview. So he knew all the right things to say.
Is it I don't know. I'm not getting any vibes of any intelligence at all. I'm getting that he thinks he's intelligent and he thinks he's studied. But like there's so many like what surely you know that if you're going to wear the bag, your amateurish like cleaning job isn't going to be successful. We're talking about 2013 here. We're not talking about 1993. Like it's pretty clear at that point. I don't know.
I think it's like intelligence mixed with ego, and often ego takes over, and that's when mistakes are made.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're right.
Now, he stated he was diagnosed with Asperger's, and he had a lot of compulsive and repetitive behaviors, so very like OCD kind of behaviors. And he also said he doesn't like mixing with people. And he basically then lists off...
Same, bro.
Yeah. He then basically lists off the diagnostic criteria of autism as if he was reading it from the DSM-5, which is the psychological manual that's like universally used. And most people with autism, as we know, it's a spectrum, so not everybody has all of those. Yes. Especially as he said he had Asperger's, which is a different part of the autism spectrum.
If they, that's it. I don't think they like. I think now it's just spectrum.
One. Like it's a spectrum.
It's
back then it was classified as Asperger's.
Exactly. So he's basically saying, So he's basically gone to WebMD. What are the symptoms? Oh, I have them all.
Yeah.
Is that
he
right?
also said he had depression, and the doctors weren't sure if he had bipolar. Yeah. So he's setting up a defense. So he's autistic. And bipolar disorder and depression.
Psychopathic, or is it not? Was he not going for that?
He wasn't going for that.
So what's he going for? Depressed,
bipolar. So I think also the bipolar was there, so we could say he was in a manic state when it happened, because often there's
Wow. So he's Right.
So take a lot of this as you will, because like the manager at the cooking school had seen some of the repetitive behaviors from Kelsall.
Yeah.
And so perhaps he was not lying about his diagnosis and mental health history, but instead was using them as an excuse.
He's manipulating. So he could have been all those things. He could have been depressed. He could have been bipolar. You know, you can have all those things and be on the spectrum, but not be a psychopathic murderer.
Well, it's like I have PTSD.
Yeah.
And like I could say I've got PTSD and I walked past a male cop and I completely dissociated and stabbed them.
Yeah.
Technically, that diagnosis is still correct, but that thing didn't happen. I didn't have a disassociation moment and stab them. So I think it's that kind of situation. He may have had the diagnosis, but he was using it as a reasonable excuse to get out of his behavior.
Yeah, he was manipulating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But detectives were like, we know you're playing games with us. Like,
yes. You've done it. He's been doing it the whole time.
Yeah. That you are obviously so connected to reality that you've managed to manipulate us this whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here is one issue I take with the diagnosis of autism. Now, he claims in his interview he has that, but he's like, I don't really know what type or the exact diagnosis because I've never had an official diagnosis and I've never taken any official testing by professionals. And he's like, I just didn't bother because I was like sort of diagnosed later in life and I'd adjusted to the autism in life. And I was like, no, you have to be properly examined by a psychiatrist. There's very specific batteries of tests you have to do to get an official diagnosis of autism. Yeah. It's not just like, I have some repetitive behaviors and I struggle to associate with people.
You can't just pick and choose like one or two symptoms and attach it, right?
Exactly.
Especially and that's totally fine. Like we'll often say like, oh, I think I have like adult ADHD just because like I can't sit still, but like I can't go up on a fucking stand up in court and say I have ADHD.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's just not it. It's we all say that, and it's totally fine to say it like amongst friends or whatever. Like, oh, yeah, like I've wondered X, Y, and Z. But yeah, it doesn't mean shit unless you've got that actual formal diagnosis. And
he's also like, I know it affects my life. And that's where he goes like, because I can't tell measurements and I can't tell heights. And I'm like, I'm sorry, people with autism aren't idiots. No. That's not how just because you, and he's like, I don't know measurements like a pinch of salt. I'm like, nobody fucking knows
does.
the measurements of a pinch of salt.
That's why it's a pinch.
And I remember like one of my friends was like, I don't like ambiguous cooking measurements. She's like, a pinch of salt? I hate it. What is it? I don't know. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to cook because I don't know what a fucking pinch of salt is.
I feel like it's like cooks use it when they don't know.
Yeah.
They've lucked upon a recipe and they're just like, oh, just a pinch of salt.
Because imagine someone who's 6'6" doing a pinch of salt versus me. They've got like the whole thing's salty and mine's not salted enough. Like, it's ridiculous.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But the forensic psychiatrist is obviously not willing to ignore the fact he mentions autism.
Fair.
So
Good.
she's got to look into his other social emotional functioning
Yeah.
and like how much he understands the emotions of other people.
But this is where it might backfire for him because now it invites further, what's the word?
Proper psychological testing.
Testing. It invites that. And that's where he can be called out for lies, bullshit. Or
100%.
his games.
So she spoke to him for like hours and hours and hours on end.
Yeah.
And she observed he had a very good grasp on other people's emotions and what they were thinking, which is not conducive to a diagnosis of autism.
No, not necessarily.
She also looked into his repetitive behaviours, and here's another kicker. One such one was that he said that every time he took off his glasses, he had to tap the side of them, which is a very, that could be an OCD thing. Take your glasses off, got to tap them.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
She says he took his glasses off multiple times during the interview and not once did he tap them, which would not be possible with a genuine diagnosis of OCD.
That's right. What is your thing? If you do it with the left, you got to do it with the right or something like that? Like, what is it?
So, like, if I touch something cold with my, if I'm aware of it, it doesn't always have to. But if I cut, like, for example, now I've realized I've touched the laptop with my left hand. I have to now touch it with my right hand.
But that's the thing.
Because they've got to be even.
It doesn't mean you've got a formal diagnosis. You've just got like a...
It just means sometimes my brain needs to make things even.
Yeah, that's
sometimes
right.
all a bit quirky.
And that could be the same for him. Like, it could be a legit thing where when it comes, but it doesn't mean he's got a fucking OCD or like some repetitive diagnosis there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, ultimately, the psychiatrist was like, I am convinced if he is ever released from jail, he will without hesitation commit a similar crime. And she's like, I'm scared that if he gets out, he will find me and kill me.
Jeez.
She's like, that's the first time I've felt this way in my life.
That's unbelievable.
So the trial, it begins in March 2015.
Okay, so
it's a couple of years later, but that's normal.
Yep.
And during the trial, he obviously pleads not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And he was almost enjoying the attention that the trial gave him because he's in front of like media. And for a person who normally gets minimal attention, doesn't have a lot of friends, this is like super fueling that psychopathic sort of side of him needing to be the center. And the psychiatrist was like, that is such obvious narcissistic behavior that he needs to be the center of attention. So he's obviously showing those two, like narcissism and psychopathy are kind of on the same scale of.
That's what I was going to ask.
Mental illness.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So a great demonstration of this is when you look at him taking the stand. And he took the stand, which is like incredibly discouraged. Every good defense lawyer will say, do not take the fucking stand because you would dig yourself into a hole by saying something you don't mean to say, and then you screw yourself over more than if you didn't take the stand.
But the DPP would be like, yes.
The DPP are like, yes. So it's clear he's telling bullshit on the stand, particularly when he implied that he had a consensual sexual encounter with Morgan for around 10 minutes before he felt something hit him on the back of the head.
Who, Kelsall?
Yeah.
Said that he felt that he was attacked first.
Yes.
By a blonde or by Morgan?
Well, he just said he saw an unknown attacker start fighting with Morgan, stating, it looked like the other person and Mr. Huxley were fighting. I then got out of there. I stood up and ran out.
So why didn't he mention this at the beginning? At the very beginning?
Yeah. When asked why he never saw the attacker coming, he just smirked and stated, I was concentrating on other things.
No, don't you dare.
Yeah. Now, one more thing came out at trial. Now, two men who had been watching this all go through on the news identified Kelsall and stated that he had followed them home and stalked them in the lead up to Morgan's murder. One said he followed him almost to his front door and he turned around and was like, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Like, you're following me home. And then Kelsall like fucking scampered because he's a little coward when he gets confronted.
Roly-poly dumpling motherfucker.
Roly-poly dumpling motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now, another one said he was having a smoke outside a block of units when Kelsall jumped out from behind a bush and like tried to attack him. And each witness said that he was wearing the same chef's outfit he was wearing the night he killed Morgan.
Absolute little pissant.
Yeah.
What a little coward.
Yeah. So the trial lasted 2 weeks and he was ultimately obviously found guilty of murder, aggravated break and enter with intent to commit serious indictable offence.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to come in and do something that's in the Crimes Act, and indecent assault. So that was for the DNA on the penis. So they're basically saying they think he was raped, but we can't give the sexual assault one, but we're going to go indecent.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially because there wasn't any fingerprints on the front door. So, like, that does lend that. Not that it happened that way at all. We know that.
Yeah.
But understandable.
So he ends up receiving a sentence with a minimum of 30 years.
So how old was he when he committed the crime?
22.
Jeez. He's going to be out in his mid-50s.
Yeah. So he has a max of 40, though. So he could potentially, though, be out in his 50s, which is ridiculous. But still 40 years, is it? It's a decent chunk of time.
Oh, like
I don't imagine he's going to do. Oh, actually, no. We're going to actually.
It's a proper sentence. Like 30 years. It's
solid for here.
It's a good sentence.
It's a good sentence
like
for him.
My ideal is lock him away, throw away the key. But that just doesn't happen.
Here.
It's just, but otherwise 30 years, great.
So he did attempt to appeal his sentencing with his barrister saying the sentence was crushing and manifestly excessive.
It is crushing and it's not excessive, so go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Also, they stated his youth was not taken into consideration when sentencing. Mate, he was 22, not fucking 15.
Yeah, he was 22.
He was a full-ass adult.
He was,
A full-ass adult holding down a full-time job. Full-ass adult.
And he stalked 3 people.
Yeah.
Soz.
And I think also like what shook everybody and sort of they were all like shut up was because he didn't know this guy.
And he
just randomly chose him one night through pure coincidence that Morgan and Kelsall happened to walk into the same convenience store.
That's right. Yeah, that's scary. And that's where the psychiatrist was saying if he gets out, when he gets out, he's going to do it again because he showed no remorse. He toyed with everybody he could.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a game to him.
Yeah.
And he was crushed?
Fuck off.
Fuck off.
So another thing comes out after the trial. And that's that he's also charged separately from the murder trial with possessing child abuse material. Now, this was found during the search warrant of his property in the murder investigation.
What do you mean, his property?
Where Kelsall lived.
Oh, okay.
Like his house.
Did he own a house or was he renting?
I don't know.
Oh, like on where he lives. Sorry,
where he was living, where he was residing.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Now, he pled not guilty, but was ultimately found guilty, and another 6 months was added onto his sentence. It was low because, firstly, the judge, you're not getting out of jail anytime soon, but it was also on the lower end of the scale of child abuse material because the images were computer generated. They weren't actual children, but it was still considered to be child abuse material. So,
I don't care, man. Okay, that's
he's the kind of person that would go from computer generated images and go too far, like he had with the stalking and all that kind of stuff. But still, at least they found it, and he got 6 months. Like it's nothing. It's ridiculous, but at least it was something.
Is he on like on a register now because of that? Like, is he?
We don't really have that as much, but like the charge is on his name. So if you look him up, the charge is there.
I thought in some states or in Australia, like they did keep a register of.
They certainly have checks done on them. Like there's like a team that goes and checks on them to make sure they're not
on that list.
Oh, he would be if you're convicted of a child abuse.
Okay. Yeah.
Thing you stay on that, and you've got certain conditions you have to abide by and all that kind of stuff, and you're checked on quite regularly. We used to always go and check on them at like 3 a.m. to make sure they were home.
Yeah,
good. Because we're like, fuck you.
And fuck you as well. Yeah. He's just he's just the worst.
Do you want another wild twist? When Kelsall's in prison, obviously, he's at the Hunter Correctional, which is sort of not the highest security prison.
It's pretty high though. It's maximum, I thought.
Well,
it's not a supermax.
It wasn't back then.
Oh.
It wasn't back then. And he starts a relationship with fellow inmate Kevin Wilmot. Now, he was as equally brutal as Kelsall's, and I think I might actually cover his case next week. So his crime was equally as fucking brutal. But it was reported that the pair were having sex every night. And what's disturbing is Hunter Valley Correctional wasn't max security. It was open plan at that point.
But we watched this the other night. Remember I showed you that doco from a couple of years? Was it like that? Because so what it is, it's all open plan. So there's no cells, there's nothing. It's
like, you know what it looks like? It looks like an office.
From the Matrix.
No, but like when you go into an
Like
office
a
and everyone's
cubicle.
got their own little cubicle.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that.
And
it looks
so-
like an office space.
Everybody should have seen The Matrix, and if you haven't, but yeah, it looks like that. And it's like you've got your office, and then at the beginning of The Matrix, when Neo's like running around trying to escape the agents, and he's like running from cubicle to cubicle, it's like that.
I like that that's the analogy you use, not the office analogy.
Well, he was in an office
Who?
in The Matrix.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. He was in the very first scene. He was escaping them. He was in an office. Yeah, he was in his
Okay.
cubicle, and it's like, yeah, it's like that. It's insane.
Yeah. And
So
so,
they
obviously,
were
like,
having
they're
loud
having sex
sex.
every night. And
In
they
an-
probably enjoyed making people uncomfortable, to be fair. They probably loved it.
I'm surprised that, but that I know it's not our highest, but you've still got some pretty dangerous people in that. It is a maximum security. I'm pretty certain it is.
No, because so we're going to have, I will actually explain that it wasn't max security back then. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay,
2
sorry.
seconds.
Okay, yeah.
So obviously they're just having loud sex. Apparently sometimes Kelsall was so tired the next day he couldn't complete the tasks he had for that day because he'd just been having sex constantly all night. Yeah. Now, he decides to register their relationship as de facto. And the reason for that is because Hunter Valley was about to be converted into max security, which means that there's a very big chance the two of them would be separated and they would have to go to different prisons because
Okay, my apologies.
if they're not violent, they won't be sort of stored in max security, like in the prison system. They won't be stored in max security. They might go to somewhere different. So there was the possibility the two of them would be separated in the reshuffle of the prisons.
Good.
So they were like, well, we want to register as de facto because if you register as de facto, you can't be separated. And prison officials are like, no, we don't. We just think it's a ploy so you two lovers, not people in generally romantic relationships, can continue your sexual escapades.
And pissing everybody off.
Yeah. And what's wilder is the prison officials were unsure if Wilmot, the guy I was having sex with, even knew that he'd done this registering to be de facto.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So they had no idea.
Yeah.
And which wouldn't surprise me given his ability to manipulate and do all that kind
Who,
of stuff.
Kelsall?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. Ultimately, they're like, but bow, no.
Good.
No.
Good.
You
And it's not
go
because,
wherever the
like-
fuck you're going to go.
Hey, if it was like a genuine thing, I would still be like, fuck him. He doesn't deserve to have that comfort in that kind of relationship and everything. Like, but even just because he's just being a dick as
Yeah,
always.
he just wants to have
Screw
sex
him.
loudly in
Just
the middle of a prison.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Now, that gets denied. So, like, fuck
Good.
you, you're in prison. Have fun.
Good.
But just on a side note about the media in this case,
Were they separated? Sorry.
I
Do we
don't know
Ah.
if they went to different prisons. I didn't.
Okay,
I
sorry,
couldn't
sorry,
find
sorry.
reports.
Side note.
So the media in this case,
Yes.
shithouse,
Oh.
absolute fucking dogs. It's one of the few times I've ever seen victim blaming in a case involving men. Normally it's females, but basically the media implied that he was responsible for his own murder.
Well, because he was drunk, or
Yeah, because he was pissed. He was having a gay escapade, being a,
Oh, so
'cause
was-
they were saying a lot of the media was saying he was gay and it was very destructive to friends and family. And that's why you thought this was a gay murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought the Oaks murder was a gay hate crime.
No.
I know that there's another one.
There's another one. There's a
Off the
similar
cliff.
one. Yeah, there's a
where he followed him from a pub or something, and he ended
Something
up throwing
like
him
that.
off the cliff. But that was like 20 years later. It was convicted
Yeah.
or something like that.
And so it was the
be wrong,
narrative
could
of
be
like,
mixing.
firstly, you got so drunk, which is often
Yeah.
in women's rape cases, but like you got so drunk, like, you idiot, you should have looked after yourself. But also like, oh, he's a promiscuous gay man doing what promiscuous gay men do and being
Yeah.
irresponsible sexually. And
The
whole, like, it was
homophobia
just-
is strong in the media, isn't it?
yeah. And so it
Thanks,
was like,
Murdoch.
it's like, no. One person's responsible for this murder and it's Daniel Kelsall.
Yeah.
Nobody else is responsible for this murder. The man's allowed to get pissed, walk 200 meters to his house and go to bed safely and wake up the next morning and get some Maccas.
I
Like-
honestly thought this was a gay hate crime.
No.
Like I thought that and I don't know whether it was definitely from the media at one point, but the narrative that I had in my head for so many years was, and like I still now, until I heard this from you, thought that it was a gay crime in some sort. But for so long, I thought that he was murdered because it was a consensual sex, and that the murderer, Kelsall, at this point, like wasn't like had regrets or had second thoughts because he was still finding out who he was, that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
he lashed out.
No, because and
That's
also
just
like
so far from the truth.
and the media kind of flip flopped then. So they kind of flip flopped and then were like, oh no, he's a ladies' man and he just had sex with one lady too many and it caught up with him.
Oh, so it's still his fault, whether he's gay
it's still
or
Morgan's fault. Whatever
not.
happened, he got drunk and either
What
had
if he was
sex with too
bi?
many
Would
men
that
or
just-
had sex with too many women, and that's what caused his death. And he's to blame.
And he's just to blame. Imagine if
was
he was bi.
disgusting.
Like, could you imagine oh my God, if he didn't deserve it when he was gay or straight, imagine if he was bi.
Yeah, and it was like it destroyed his family. It was
course.
awful. Like so they had to go through the trial whilst the media were like actively bashing him, and like basically saying you were an irresponsible. He was like in his 30s.
He was 31.
Who owned a business?
Who owned a business and
Yeah.
had, did you say fiance or girlfriend, Tiffany?
Girlfriend, long-time girlfriend.
Long-time girlfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah, it was fucked.
That's
Media,
fucked.
You failed.
That is terrible. It's not surprising, unfortunately.
But it's what is surprised. Like I guess that maybe that victim blaming came in when they first thought he was gay, because that does tend to come
It does.
along with the territory of gay, like it does with women.
Yeah.
And perhaps once they found out he wasn't gay, they're like, well, we've kind of bashed him in the media. Let's just continue to do
Like
it.
it's
but on
his
a
fault
different
some
track.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous.
It's sort of very rarely do the media get it right. Very rarely. I think the most common is like in terms of I think that do it well is The Guardian. They're pretty bloody good. I mean, I know like there's a lot of variables and there, you know, sometimes, but like so many times the media because all they want to do is sell stories. And that sells a story.
Yeah.
And well, it did. Hopefully it wouldn't now. But yeah, it was the same thing. Oh God. The female comedian in Melbourne, I'm terrible with names. Do you remember about 4 or 5 years ago, she was murdered? And it was like, once again, victim blaming. Oh, I can't remember, but like awful, brutal death as well. Like very tragic. Yeah, if you're listening, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. As I said, I am pretty terrible with names. I don't know. All I know is Rolly Bolly Dumpling Motherfucker. I don't know who. I forget his name too. I'm pretty.
Peter Dupas.
Thank you. But yeah, just it was her fault. It's her fault that she was murdered. It's, yeah, very sad. This was it sounds like once again, another really bright spark, a bright light robbed.
Yeah. And it
At
was,
31.
you know, his friends and family were robbed of the life they would have had with him.
And like not only was he brutally murdered, but as you just said, like his name was dragged through the
slandered.
mud.
Yeah.
And his family had to deal with that. Not only did they have to deal with the absolute most horrific, brutal murder of their son, boyfriend, brother, I don't know if he had siblings, you know, all of his loved ones. That's bloody hard enough. But now, then they had to deal with
The media.
Anyway. So any news on Kelsall? So that was 2013. He was jailed for minimum 30, maximum 40. So he could
he's
be
still
out
there.
at
He's still
2043,
Yeah, no, he's still there.
2053.
Hopefully 2053. But yeah, no, he's still in jail. Like not much is written on him about after 2016, 2017.
Wouldn't surprise me if his name popped up. If perhaps he crosses the wrong person in there, being a bit too smart, being a bit too cocky.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. Do we know if he's still in Hunter?
I don't know, no.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
that is the story of the murder of
the Oaks murder.
of Morgan.
Morgan Huxley. Yeah. Well, mate, I was going to say, like, I'll moon someone for you in your honor. Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Definitely not. But hey,
The thoughts
maybe
there.
you at home, next time you moon somebody,
Think of Morgan Huxley and
Morgan
smile.
Huxley and smile. That's right. I don't know. I never knew the bloke, but I could imagine that he'd probably be proud of that, right?
Yeah, he'd have a laugh.
Next time your boss pisses you off,
Just moon him.
just moon him. It's like next time you're quitting your job.
Yeah, moon him
I'll
and be
moon him
like, "That's
out
for you,
your way.
Morgan."
That's for you, Morgan. But yeah, look, I've got a little bit of whiskey left, so this is for you, Morgan. Maybe if you're having a drink too, raise a glass. It feels like, I don't know, feels like that might be something he'd also appreciate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He would have loved a beer by the sound of it. But yeah, all right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. We know what
Yeah.
you're saying. But we'll see you guys. I will pin a post about the clues.
Yeah.
So I pin a post, and then each week I will comment on the post.
Yeah, that's something we're going to say.
To like the clues each week. I'll comment on the post. You guys also comment on the post so we can all keep track of the guesses.
Yeah, don't DM us with any
don't
answers.
DM us. Either comment on the post on Instagram or on the Facebook community, and we will go from there.
Yeah, that's right. Those will be the two places. Every week on a Wednesday, there'll be a new clue added. We'll just comment on that thread. We'll have them pinned. And you can throw your guesses in the comments, and so you guys can ASAP. All keep track. So you can keep going back to it and going, what are the clues again? What's been suggested? And we shall see how far this rabbit hole goes.
Can't wait. I'm so
I
excited
reckon
to see
2025.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, guys, we love you. We hope you keep it together. You're keeping safe and you're keeping happy. They're having a great start to the new year. We will be back on Friday for a shit chat. Otherwise, if that's not your jam, we will see you next Wednesday for another case.
Yep. We will see you then. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.